Alrighty. Greetings, TTRPG fans and enthusiasts, and welcome to Legitcast Episode 10. I'm your host, John, and what started a few months ago as part of ZineQuest 2025 now continues, and we're widening the breadth of guests that we have, not just ZineQuesters, but people that enjoy and love TTRPGs in general. And today, to restart and revamp and reinvigorate the flame of this podcast, we have a living legend as a guest. We have the one and only Baltic star, Luke. Greetings, my friend. How are you?
All the better for seeing you, mate. It's a joy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm in a good mood. I'm a Tottenham fan. They just won a trophy in the football. I've got a bit of a bottle of wine, nice cup of tea. Life is wonderful here with you.
It's so good to hear and so good to be, talking and restarting this podcast together. Luke, I have many very cool things to share, but as you can see, you can join us on chat. Chat is presented here and will be part of this recording. We will upload it later on YouTube. We'll create a super sweet TikTok short video featuring our conversation, the highlights of the conversation. And we also have on my left and right, I could be a little bit louder, cool. We have a sweet slideshow from memories from Luke's games and the stories from his channel. The channel is always will be rotating. You can click it on chat and check it out. It's Boys from the Baltic Star. Make sure you give them a follow and give them lots and lots of love. So Luke, so glad again that you're in good spirits and you're here with me. I would like to start by telling you a story of how we met. The behind the scenes story of how we met.
Oh, I know. So long ago as well.
It is quite a few years now. It was a rainy day. It was a rainy afternoon. I don't remember what the weather was. But it was a period of my life that I knew that I had to at some point start to play TTRPGs in English with other people, which are not people that I know from in person, or people that I share the same language as I am from Greece. So I was dabbling my toes on the Twitch channels. And I eventually discovered your channel and your group. Shout out to Ben and Ian and all the rest. And I was amazed by your level of vocabulary. I have to say that, all of you. Maybe especially Ben, but definitely all of you.
Especially Ben.
And I was like, ooh, maybe one day I will be able to reach to the heavens and be one of those titans, And you were a very fun group, very inviting through the chat. So, you always interact with the chat. You made me feel comfy and nice. I joined your Discord after watching a few shows and starting to fall in love with you and your shows. And then there was a call to action, a call to join, for anyone to join in a TTRPG session. And it wasn't Tony and Rudy, if you remember. It was, I can't remember the pun. It was a bear pun name, but it was something like a revolution with bears. It was a, do you remember it?
The bourgeoisie. Yeah, I was trying to work out. Yesterday what game it was that got cancelled. So I'm glad you reminded me.
Yeah, you tried to. Yes, it was. It had to do with bears and a revolution, and the title was like something like Bear Revolution. No, it was a bit more complex than that. But I was supposed to play a bear, so I'm thinking to myself, what the best way to start, playing on the screen, and with using English instead of Greek as the language, and go through the anxieties and stuff by playing something cool as a bear and easy to play with. But then the game got cancelled and all my dreams were shattered. But then you brought like a candle with a bright light and illuminated my soul as you suggested. We play an impromptu. Uh, you know exactly where I'm going with it, but how about you tell us what was the spur of a moment and how you decided to create this beloved Tony and Rudy adventures?
Well, I guess a bit of backstory. We'd been streaming for a couple of years at that point, and during COVID, it was very easy to make sure we were always around. And as we were building the channel, we made sure that we would always be there, all three of us. It started Thursday and Friday, and then Friday, Saturday, and none of us missed a stream for a long time. And then real life starts to happen, and sometimes we're having to change our plans. But I think that night with the plan with you was one of the first real last minute, oh no, someone's cancelled, and we really want to stream with John tonight because he seems really cool. He could have picked a channel where they speak clearer English, but he's picked a channel with three bad English speaking people
Not
who
the
speak
case,
very
but yeah,
quickly.
sure.
But I think so. We got the cancellation. I don't know when I told you. It would have only been an hour, maybe, or two before.
Yeah, something like it. Yeah, it was.
And so I was like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Because I think it was Ewan that was running the Bears game. So I
Yeah.
wasn't even running anything. But I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. I like the idea of these two strapping young men becoming heroes in the 1930s. Yeah. And so I thought, what's a space that I can make a small space? I thought a train. Trains are good. Trains are traditional. And let's put them on a train. Let's start them in the dining car. Let's have several carriages they have to work through. And I will make absolutely everything up as we go. I had no idea of the
really?
ending. I had no idea of the baddies, no idea of anything until we started playing, and I was making notes as we went. But luckily, it turns out that you share the same spirit of adventure as us, which was very helpful. So you leapt straight into full-on role-playing, rule light shenanigans, and it was beautiful.
I remember feeds from the chat. The moment I started role playing and I had to doing this Rudy auto voice or something, she was like, oh, she's doing voices. It was like, I remember watching the chat and laughing. So yeah, that's basically how we get to know each other, and this like spur of the moment, short call, last minute call adventure turned out to be like a full-on campaign of something like 15 sessions now. Where are we at?
I'm trying to think. So we started with our one shot, Tony and Rudy on the was it Vienna Express?
Yeah,
Vienna Express. That was a one. Then we took you on the SS Cans across the Mediterranean. I didn't know much more about that. I just knew that the Spanish Civil War would be involved. That was maybe 4 episodes, and then of course the infamous Samaritz.
Oh, we'll get to that later.
Episodes.
We'll get to that later. Of course.
And now you're back in Austria, working your way along the Danube. So yeah, maybe closing in on 20 now, I think, and they're always a highlight.
Wow.
They just feel warm and cozy and just fun.
Yes, each and every time they are truly exactly as you described them. and looking forward definitely to the next. And it's funny how, you know, from something totally random, something unprepared, we end up creating like a huge story with characters, with depth and recurring characters and adventures, at least, you know, Agatha Christie and Indiana Jones level combined.
Yes.
But let's get
exactly.
let's get back a few years. I want you to tell me how the Boys of the Baltic Star started. What was the decision behind convincing the other two that, hey, we should do this thing on the screen instead of our tables? It wasn't like COVID behind it. Was it? You know, walk me through it. What was your thought process of creating the series?
So a number of years ago, maybe 2017, maybe, I was drinking with Ewan in my local pub, and also drinking with another friend called Trev quite regularly. And word came down that Trev had a long-term friend who was a GM and would quite like to run a Traveller game for us. This is old Traveller as well, like original Traveller. And we're like, sure, why not? So we started meeting at Trev's house every month or so, and we'd start about 7 in the evening, go till about 4 in the morning, get very drunk normally, and just have a fun old time. Now, at that time, myself and Ewan are very storyline based a lot. If there's someone standing in front of you, Ewan will try and pickpocket him for a key. I'll try and woo him, but Trev would kill him. So Ben had to learn to put a little bit of everything in our games. A bit of action, a bit of talking and so on. So we were doing that in person. And then we switched to the new Traveller when we finished that campaign. And then COVID happened. So basically, our character generation was as lockdown started. So we set up our Boys from the Baltic Star. Basically, that adventure started online. We'd meet every Friday from about 7 till about 3 in the morning. Every other session would end up just drinking because we'd not seen anyone outside of our house for a week. So we were just drinking and chatting. But roleplay would happen and it'd be silly and ridiculous. And then the COVID rules changed, so we could start meeting up in gardens that summer. So we'd start going over every Friday to Trev's house. Ben couldn't because he was on a bit isolated. He was sort of in a bit of an isolation bubble thing. So he would be on video and we'd be in the garden. And then lockdown happened again. And then we sort of all kept scattering. And then we decided at one point, if we're doing it over the screens anyway, let's try streaming it. Trev, unfortunately, he was sort of in the process of getting towards moving away, I suppose, at the time. And so it just became the three of us, which meant that combat tailed off. There's a joke in our stream that we never do combat. We so rarely do combat in Traveller.
I've almost never
ridiculous.
seen you, indeed. I've
You never see it. No, we try and come up with any solution. Which is why when it happens, it's really brutal and really quick, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, so we started streaming that and doing that every Friday, and then we would do non-role playing on Thursday, a bit like this, I guess, where we would chat about roleplay games and Traveller and things. But then we switched it because of Ewan's work, and then on Saturday we started doing anything goes, trying different adventures, having guests on, some of our long-term online friends, like Sock Fiddler and Sparrow who joined, we'd start getting along, and after a little while people such as you came in, and the rest is history.
Indeed. Let's talk a little bit about Traveller. Yeah, you've played quite a lot of sessions, and I want your opinion on why do you feel it is most appropriate TTRPG to play for prolonged sci-fi campaigns such as the Boys from the Baltic Star?
Ben always says that, anything I say is light-hearted. It needs to be said that if I say something against another system, I'm not being negative. He says Ben always says that the difference between Traveller and D&D, for example, is that you could play a game of D&D in Traveller. Your crew could play D&D while they're on their ship. The scope of Traveller is massive. If you've ever been online and looked at the map for Traveller, it's enormous. It would take you a million lifetimes to play. And we just love the fact that you can bounce from planet to planet, that some might be like a cyberpunk world, some is quite tribal, some is like noir, some is like robots and androids, and everything is quite different. Some would be like space cowboys, really. And we just love the fact that we can bounce along there and then keep going back to our ship, our central ship flying through. We can bounce off and do all these amazing sci-fi adventures, and then back onto the ship for our next one, which we love, really love it. And the rule set, I think, whereas D&D is excellent for combat, Traveller's really good for combat, but I would say it's better for finding other solutions. I guess Traveller's like, kill something, level up. Traveller's like, if you attack something, you might die, which is its. And the level up's really slow. So you're just guys that might be good at something, but you're just guys. You never become gods. You just become guys that are a bit better at mechanics, or guys that can speak another language after many months. And I think we liked that down to earth feel of it. And yeah, that's why we went for it.
So there weren't any other real contenders to facilitate your adventures like another TTRPG at the time, right?
No, Ben and Ewan both like D&D, and they watched the D&D shows and things like that. I was never a D&D boy growing up. I wasn't really into roleplay games so much in my youth. It turns out it was what I was looking for, but I was board games, choose your own adventure games, anything creative. But just, I don't know, when we started, I didn't want to do D&D. We were doing Traveller anyway, so that's fine. But there were so many other channels doing all the other things anyway. I think it's better to be you than be someone else. I guess some people will like us, some won't, but at least we're being us, playing the game we want to play. So
that's where the magic is. Yeah, that's where the magic lies.
Yeah. It's always been our thing. We'll only play games we want to play. We'll only play with people we want to play with, such as you and our other friends. And we'll only play it in the way we want to play. And we want to interact. We want it to be like we're still at the table and everyone watching is sat at the table with us. So we'll say hi when you come in. We'll let you join in with decision making. And yeah, that's what it's always been since the start.
And how come both of you and Ian, I always mispronounce his name, it's now engraved, I cannot pronounce
it's a hard one,
Ewan.
Yeah, Ewan, it's a hard one in some languages.
Maybe it triggers some my dyslexia part of my brain, and I read what I just say out loud what I read. Anyway, what was the decision behind both of you playing two characters instead of one, which can be considered quite a challenge for a one-shot or a two-shot or whatever, but to play a full-blown ass campaign and both of you controlling two characters, wow, let's talk about that a bit.
I think, well, when we were firstly talking about doing it and Trev was considering, he was going to play two as well. So when we started the campaign
wow.
in person, we had six characters, and you're like, who am I with? It's spinning off. I think what we like about it is it gives more options for variety. Now we've got a lot of extra NPCs. That's the other good thing about the ship. We can keep bringing in all these NPCs, leave them on the ship, and choose a couple to go down with, like a sci-fi show, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but, but having the two each means that there's a bit more interaction, especially with Traveller character generation. It encourages um, part of it's about how you know the other people. So my character Kara, her backstory has to interact with Agnar. That was how they were the two that connected. Soraya's has to connect with Stefan's, so we had to work out a way that they connected. And what we liked was, so they would be the normal two when they go off on adventures. But what happens if that switches sometimes? You know, what if one of my characters is sort of the female Han Solo, basically, but the other one is an art student who, is a philosopher and can barely hold a gun. So I think it gave both of us a chance to try out different things, especially the plan is that this is the game that we're going to play until one of us dies. You know, whether it's online or not, it doesn't matter. You know, if streaming stops and if we stop streaming, we'll still play it. So it's our game for life. So
how many sessions you're in now? There are like many seasons, but how many sessions? Have you ever counted the total amount of sessions?
Oh, Ben tracks it better than me. It's about, give or take, 40 a series, and we're in about 20 or 4, so it's about 140 episodes maybe. Nowadays it's about 2 hours. We did get up to about 3.5, but we're all getting old and tired, and we've got kids and jobs, and so yeah, about 140 episodes, and it's about maybe 300 hours.
Wow, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think my longest series was about 100 sessions total. So it's definitely a whole saga. And yeah, as for the hours, I think it has to do with playing online. You naturally have to play less hours than playing in person, you know. The technical difficulties, the thing that you just have to sit in your appropriately. You cannot lie down or play or like eat food and pick totally yourself. So yes, when you play online, I don't think that many people play like more than 4 hours straight online. Whereas when I used to be a student, we could have played like up to 12 hours. We would just order food, sit there all day and play.
Well, that's it. Well, that's when we were doing it beforehand, and we were sort of doing it every month, and it would be 9 hours or something. But you would find that half of that would be chatting, then you get this little run where one person would go to the loo. So maybe one of the others, so Ben would go and get a breath of air. Then he'd come back and I'd need the loo. And as I was coming back, Ewan was making a drink, and then Trevor would need the loo again. And then suddenly you've done an hour of just talking in toilets. And then you're like, oh man. Or like having a massive hour-long discussion about what you're going to do next. Whereas streaming, we found, makes you really spontaneous and tight. We play slowly, but we make some real spontaneous decisions, and I think that's more fun.
For the views, for the viewership.
I think it has to be, right? You can't. We do have some episodes we joke about it, where we spent a whole episode getting a mortgage, buying a business. It was just ridiculous, like rolling dice to work out our business rates. But we did that because we know that's our gimmick, you know. Like so, and we just do silly things. But yeah,
I also love
playing
how
short bursts.
You always included spending your points to interact with the story, with whether that would be the clonk that you have to hit something when a viewer spends 400 points or so. There have to be a clonk in game, or they name an NPC. Feeds always comes up with the most ridiculous of names. And what other interactions did you have over the time?
So our plan was, when we made it to our the ability to have the points, we always wanted it to be as interactive as possible. So we've got the cheap things are just people getting us to raise a glass or something like that.
Drink to that.
That's easy enough. Drink to that, yeah, or drink to Grey Hill Bast or something like a fallen comrade. But the main ones, I guess, are Soraya's scouting. She was a scout, so she now has to give a scouting law, rule 432. So I'll have to make that up. That's like Tony's, Rudy's bit from his book,
Yeah.
A bit of improv. It's fun. We have, Stefan has to steal something. You have to hit something or someone. Just have to do it. That's just the rules. You have to do a minute. You have to talk about something for a minute. You just have to find an excuse in game to talk about. They'll say the person that does it tells us what we have to talk about for a minute. And then they can name an NPC, give us a boon, just silly things like that, really. Tell a joke used to be on there. Agnar has to buy. If we're buying something and someone picks Daddy Agnar, Agnar has to spend his money buying it, which is quite fun.
Whatever it is.
So he gets whatever it is, he's got to buy it because he's the dad of the group. So.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast. The thing that I wanted to talk to you about for so long. It is the concept of running a Groundhog base type story for a TTRPG. You introduced me to it via the Tony and Rudy adventures. We were we were invited. We had our talk. We had our drinks in game and out of game, I suppose. And we were maybe suspicious of this great Bauman, like an illusionist, magician character that you introduced. Something mysterious happens by the end, and then we fall asleep, and I think or pass out or something, and then you start and repeat the intro of the session, and then you end the session, and the next one was basically reliving the same day, much like Groundhog Day or any other famous popular reference that the younger kids who know better. That's basically repeating the story. The protagonists know exactly how this day and the next hours are gonna play out, but no one else does. And they find themselves like trapped in this loop, which I find so interesting for any type of storytelling. You can run this for 1930s adventures with those with the system that we play. And remember the name of the system? Those Dark Days. No, confused now. That's not the name. The stars. A bit confused.
Dark Places.
Those Dark Places. Yeah, thank you so much. So basically, you can play it with that. You can play it with in a standard fantasy D&D environment, repeating. You can play it something like Metanthropes with time bending. You can play it with any sci-fi or any archaic. Or it's so amazing. So how come you've chose to run a Groundhog style based adventure, and how do you construct the narrative? Because I find it very intriguing.
How honest do I need to be here? Right.
As much as you want.
So this was the first adventure that Ewan joined us for. So it's Tony, Rudy, brackets, and Gaston.
Right.
He's never the full. He's always in brackets. Never full.
It's featuring.
Dot and Gaston.
Yeah,
featuring Gaston. I as with every Tony and Rudy adventure, I start with an inkling of some things I want. I have a page of some points that I want to be in it, I guess. But give you guys a lot of freedom with where you want to go with it. But so mainly it's just like some characters where they'll be sitting on the boat. It was, what room are they in? That's about as far as I got. That one, of course, was murder mystery. So I had to say who'd done it, so I knew that. So for that one, I knew who'd done it. but who was going to steal the stuff, who'd murdered the people.
Hmm.
So that was fine. For this one, I knew that I had no idea. I only knew it was going to be a Groundhog Day game about 2 hours into it.
What?
I made a decision. I made a decision 2 hours into it.
No way.
Yeah, I was bouncing. To be fair, I was bouncing between two or three things. The Groundhog Day was one of my main things. I can't remember what the other one was now, but the way it played and the setting, it felt so overwhelmingly right that it needed to be it. So because I knew that the first session is always a bit slow. I knew that you were in the dining hall, right?
Mhm.
You start in the dining hall. I knew that, as always, I'll give you guys some time to do your chat. Oh, Tony, hi, Rudy. Lovely trousers. Oh, darkest Rudy now. Here's my book. Talk to some staff, because that's what you guys are good at doing. And then trying out the world, didn't you? You wanted to go outside. It felt like you were tasting the air, seeing what you could do. Let's go outside. There's snow. So I'm making notes like snows at this sort of time. I was like, oh yeah, that's snowing. This is the name of the waiter. And then the great bowman, the hypnotist, came, and he got 3 people up. One that he was pretending. You worked out, because of course Rudy was very suspicious. Rightly so. And it was kind of when we had that first break, and I was like, this is how I'm going to lean into it now. So at that point, the ideas were there. So my idea was that at every certain point, and of course I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but whenever someone in game dies, it resets the time. Dear viewer, cover your ears if you want to listen to watch the show and don't want to be cheated out of the plot, I suppose. But Bauman, of course, hypnotized everyone and was working his way through people to find out who the evil was. He'd been hired to find out who the sort of the murderer, the killer person was, and he was working his way one by one. And you guys have been in this for several times around already. And I loved films like Groundhog Day as a kid, 1201, things like that, where the repeat comes, and it's just so fascinating to me. And I love the idea that because it was a hypnotist, the further you went from the restart, because that's when he hypnotized you, right? When you were sat there at the dinner table, that was the hypnosis. So that's where it all started. And the further you went into the evening, I was purposefully giving less description. There were few people around. The corners were getting darker. It was the blurring of his hypnosis, because he couldn't control you so much as time went on. So there was less detail on purpose. So if you listen back to it, watch back, you'll notice that as each evening goes on, there's fewer lights on. The cast sort of vanish off. There's few, like the 2 Dutch guys always went to play billiards. The others always went somewhere here, there, until it was just you guys. And it was important, I think, to have several like totems through it. So the bear, of course, because you have to have these repeat bits, right? Like in Groundhog Day, it's the groundhog and his old friend that tries to sell him insurance, and he steps in that. So the bear, which of course the irony, of course, thinking back now, is that the reason you played with us first time was for bears, and St. Moritz was all about a bear. So
right. Yeah.
I didn't think, I didn't know at the time. I couldn't remember, but yeah. So it was just about playing on those, and then, of course, the best bit was the first time I reset it, because Ben looked like he was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, same. And I think my best bit was the next time we played, after we knew that time has just resetted. We weren't sure that's gonna happen multiple times. Maybe it was just a one-time occurrence. But I love that we immediately, opened the the drawing board, and we're like, "Hey, what's happening? Are we drugged?" And I think the first session, no, it was the second session that we saw something like a spirit on the top floor, who was like, a person that cannot be there because we don't have a memory of him or something like that. And it looked like a spirit. Well, I don't know exactly
Yeah, the
remember
shadow
what
in the
happened.
top room.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
there was
was
a
like,
shadow in.
is it like full on magic? Are we drugged? Is everyone an actor and playing, and we never really, it's the theories, that you start your players to. If only we knew that you were
And you
again improvising. If only.
Well, only for that first bit. By that point, by episode 2, everything was getting locked in. Everything was, this is full steam ahead. The first half of the first episode was me testing the water, I guess, to see where you would go. And then once I was in on it, we were all in on it. So yeah. So what I loved was that immediately, because of how you and Ben are especially, you're like, okay, let's try things differently. You started writing things on the book to see if it would come back the next day. You take a cigarette out of the case to count the cigarettes. You instead of going outside, you stayed inside. Instead of doing this, you did that. You sort of, one of you went up to get hypnotized when maybe it wasn't your turn to. You went in different rooms, and you went round the outside of the hotel, and you couldn't. Maybe things looked a bit different there because he couldn't tell, could he? You, like you said, because of the snow and because Bowen hadn't seen it, and you were. I feel like the first episode you were playing it like a straight Tony and Rudy game.
Mm-hmm.
The second time round, you were like, what? And trying to experiment and push the edges. And then over the next few, that's where you started to pull threads together, I guess. Focusing on Baum and focusing on this, ignore this.
It's time you restarted. We were like, oh, it's happening again. No.
You got so close. Like the one where the guy goes to jump off the balcony and Tony goes to grab him, but then gets dragged over as well. And then it's boom, restart.
I love
some of them are really short.
The theory crafting, and it was, I always had this idea. I never had a chance to run it with any of my players because it's a bit sadistic for your players, a bit how you call it, like Machiavellian, to have like let's say a wizard who time travels, or a demon with time bending abilities or whatnot. But instead of killing the players, instead of stealing their items or doing this or that, you have them you turn back time, and you have them to loop and face the same things over and over again. And they're like, oh, instead of each time, if you not defeat them, you go back in time and you have to do all and you're only protagonist, remember what's happening. All the rest have no idea. So in a way you have an advantage, but if you start explaining, everyone will consider you like a crazy person and no one will believe you. But then you can guess, just remember, like Tom Cruise's Edge of Tomorrow is another spoiler, I guess, but it's another thing, like in 3 seconds this is gonna happen, I know your name, and then you start plotting as if you know that there's gonna be bound to be another reset. So if I spend the entire session to learn this NPC's deepest secrets, the next reset I will go straight and just tell them, I know that you killed this one there. So now you help me. Either I'm God or I know you're fast. No, or I'm telling the truth.
Well, we had that bit in the Tony and Rudy because Gaston's character started flirting with the receptionist.
All over again. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing it each time, saying a bit, and you guys would be much more blatant to the characters, but you just would approach, because there was the actor from the boat whose name I can't remember now. He was the character that crossed over, but his new partner, you were like really quite. When you noticed that she was maybe faking, you were just, by that point you were both just quite abrupt.
Yeah, you can be all rude that you want, because
it's going to reset, right? You ran upstairs to open the door at the shadow because you knew the worst would be a reset, and he killed you, so it's a reset. But now you've learned, It's a different way. Like in a roleplay game, if you're protecting your character in a campaign, one shots are different. But if you're protecting your character in a campaign, I guess you're not going to do dangerous things for no reason. But the joy of a time reset game is that you can, like you say, you can just like try it, go straight up to that person and say, you know, it might work out. I think as long as the
think
games,
it's also...
as long as the GM, the right, yeah.
No, go on, please.
So I was gonna say, as long as the GM, and I was having to refer back to notes because as soon as I've said something, then I'm like, then I've got a list of, oh, this has got to happen, this has got to happen, and I just have to make sure that everything holds up. Except if you make a change, that will change, like the butterfly effect, right? So I know what's going to happen, but then if you upset Bauman, maybe it's going to change what he does a little bit, which might stop something from happening. So that's the one thing with that sort of time game. You've got to hold a lot in your head, I think, as GM, as a writer for it.
Yeah, I think it's quite challenging, but also, you know, gives the players this amazing opportunity to explore road paths not taken, you know, role plays not possibly taken otherwise, and it's always super fascinating. Before we wrap this episode up, I don't want you to keep them longer than 1 hour, but I do want to know about the convention that you ran, I think 2 years now, on you know, on your hometown. I suppose I don't really know anything about it. I knew that it wasn't easy for me to come, and still won't be, but maybe one day if you continue doing it, I will be. But talk to me through it, how you organize it, what's the thought process behind it, how it went.
Yeah, so we've run it for the last couple of years. This year there's a maybe hanging over it, because we did it in the last 2 springs. Where we've done it before, like everywhere, has put their prices up massively, and we're having to rethink, like, seriously. And we struggle to cover our costs. Our costs, we cover it through ticket sales, but we also cover it through our Twitch money. So it takes maybe it takes a year to pay back everything as it comes through. So we have to think about that, but it takes a lot. It's a real brave move to put something on like that you don't know if it's going to work. And so we were, the first time we filled 2 days with roleplay, 3 sessions a day, with maybe 6 tables. So you're trying to find 36 sessions of games and players, and like there'd be times where we've got, oh yeah, people have signed up to run a game. I say, oh, I've got lots of games but not enough players, we're gonna have to cancel games. And then suddenly players turn up but there's not enough games, so you're like, oh man, have we got enough games? And it keeps sort of doing that. And we're very fortunate that we get on really well with Mongoose, who are the Traveller publishers, and both times they've given us like really nice free gifts, like hundreds of pounds worth of free gifts to give away.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Which is really nice.
How did you?
Yeah, they gave us like,
I guess you contact them, right?
Yeah, I think we did. Oh, I don't know. I think they might have contacted us for the first time on Instagram, because we'd been posting on their Discord a bit, like whenever we were going live. Like, hi, we're going live, you know, to everyone. Hi, on this Discord, we're going live. And there's not, unlike D&D, there's not many regular Traveller streams, you know, weekly, as we were when we tried to be. So maybe there's us and maybe a couple that sort of do campaigns and then leave off for a while. So our name, even though our audience is small, especially compared to D&D, word gets around. And so yeah, so they supported us. We managed to get this, I had a friend who was part of Roll the Damn Dice, who like do this D&D to an audience. They came along for the first one to run a session. We had Tim Collinson, who was a friend from the channel, who came and ran Traveller Creation. And so really it was a case of pulling out favours and trusting that you're going to get your hundreds of pounds back somehow. And but we made really good contacts with the local university, their roleplay group, who really covered a lot of the money in the first couple. They'd bring a whole batch of them, and they ran games for us. The second year, we wrote a mega game, the three of us, which was stressful but fun. That's a whole other experience, honestly. Mega games are just mental to write.
I want to hear a little bit
don't
more about
recommend
the
it.
mega game. It's like many tables all playing in the same like universe and the same story, essentially, right?
Yeah, so we played this. We made this story where it was supposed to be like Firefly or something like that. They were all crews that had ended up in a small system. The first time there were 3 planets, played by myself, you, and Ben, and there was sort of intrigue between the planets, and they would fly around, transporting stuff, running missions for us, attacking each other, or attacking security, or working together, or smuggling stuff, and so on and so forth. And they really loved it, and they asked us to run another one for them late last year for their Freshers Week. So we expanded it even further, and we included them. So then there were 6 planets, and the security system, and the corporation, and it takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of resources and a lot of printing and sticking and Jenga blocks and things. But I just love it. There's role play, but there's acting, there's a bit of board game stuff, there's puzzle solving bits, and if no one's ever done a say again, I was just saying, if no one's played a role play game, but no one's played a mega game before, I recommend it.
Yeah, I haven't really played such an experience. I had like some D&D where we're like playing on the same world, and that eventually the groups would meet type of situation. But as a mega event that runs on a convention, it's essentially a super glorified one-shot, so it has to end. So how exactly do you culminate such a story? How do you bring them all together? And how did this one in particular did end?
Yeah, so we're really bad with timing. What you have to do is you have to run. We found that because things were almost in turns. You had to be really strict on times. So you'd say, okay, you've now got 10 minutes. You've got 5 minutes to go back to your crew, your ship. Choose your location. Ben is a programmer, so he made an app that could make them move, and then we put them on the big map. So do 5 minutes of movement, 5 minutes where they can attack each other, have a conversation, chat with other crews, 10 minutes where they can land on the planet and talk with the planet leaders. So it just has to be like 10 minutes this, 15 minutes this, and every turn there's like, okay, now you've got 5 minutes where you can just rest and talk with each other. But time goes past so fast. You start and suddenly it's 5 hours later, and you're like, oh man, I've got to wrap this up now. And we did find a way to do it. Basically, we told them there's like 2 more big turns to go. We'd message each other with a phone all the way through, like tipping each other off about things, because we're GMs basically. And so Ewan would be like, yeah, sorry. And I'd be like, what do you mean sorry? And then the news comes out, he's bombed my planet. I'm like, what? And then suddenly this sort of triggered some stuff. Someone got murdered from like the corporation, and we just sort of built this ending where basically they all fell on one of 2 sides. There was a big battle between me and another planet. So they were the workers' planet. I was like the get rid of the corporation planet, and they were sort of up against Ben's planet, and then sort of everyone sort of picked sides, and they sort of battled against each other. So it's just timing it to become a big finale and getting them interested in it, and it was really fun. And then you sit around at the end and you give a little breakdown of what your motivation was, and passing the microphone around to everyone. And yeah, really good. I'd rather do it over 2 days. Wow. Yeah, because we'd have to run a mic, because to hear everyone, whoever's in charge would go with the microphone, and then because it's in a big hall, and they're all in different tables because that's their ship, unless they come to your planet, which is a corner of the room. but yeah, to do that over 2 days at a venue maybe, and then sort of go out in the evening or something, or a hotel would be amazing. But you know, that's money, that's dreams, that's time to create it. But the three of us are always just trying to be creative in what we do, trying different things
So,
out, you know.
how many people and how many GMs in total? How many players? How many GMs?
Um, I think we ended up with like it was about 8 crews in the end, with up to 5. Some had 3, some had 5, and then there was so me, Ben, and Ewan were the main GMs, of course, but each with responsibilities for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the student unions heads, like the older students, a couple of them took different planets. So there's probably 6 of us. By that point, there was like 6 of us running it because it was bigger, and then the rest were players. But you just need a lot of people to run it because there's a lot of moving parts. It's incredible, and like I say, it's if anyone's into roleplay, or if anyone's into LARPing or something, which is something that'd be quite interesting, then I recommend it. Find a mega game. Then they're the most nerdy thing ever, but they are amazing.
Yeah, it's an experience haven't yet experienced, and I'm really looking forward to. I had the chance to participate in a Call of Cthulhu thingy that happened in a convention here in Greece. To be honest, I wasn't I wasn't informed that it was gonna happen. I just went there and realized by then, and I had some other plans, so I kind of missed that. Missed that train. That ship has sailed, but definitely I would also be much more interested to be on the team who runs it instead of being a player. I know
Yes.
it's much more time consuming and energy consuming, but that's where the magic is. I think yeah. I wish.
I think so.
Yeah, I wish I have a chance to play a mega session, a mega game at some point.
But there's these things we want. We have so many plans of what we'd love to do, as well as all our creative games. We'd love to take over like an old train and run like on a steam train and run a murder mystery on the train as it runs.
Ooh, yeah.
We'd love to. Yeah, that would be amazing, right? That'd be amazing.
Each wagon can have its own GM, or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We want to do things where we set up a room and have
That's a great idea.
maybe
Actually,
3 venues.
you can
Right.
time.
But you could have a different.
When it becomes in real life 11 o'clock, then all the lights go out and the murder happens, and you have coordinated with the other GMs. Oh, I love this. It's gonna be. I want to play that now.
Because different GMs can be in different places. You can have different GMs in different places, so people could do a couple of hours with one GM in one bit and then move to the other. We wanted to do the thing where we had a few tables in a space, but we're all GMing different groups, but it was part of the same adventure. So they're in different towns, but then they can move around the map. So then they'd come to my town, and I'd be GMing for them in that town, and so they'd be moving around to different GMs in a bigger thing, and then all coming together at the end for the finale. I think with streaming as it is, I think it's become quite very much the same. But I think people are starting to try new things, and people want to have real life experiences again much more, I think.
Right.
And we just want to try. We just want to try all the things. We just want to try all the things, all the creative. That's why we do our conspiracy theory improv. That's why we do.
Yeah, I love this.
Anything odd we can do, because we just want to try, just be creative, fail, succeed. It don't matter, it's just fun.
All right, to sign us off, talking about plans, what are the plans for your channel in the foreseeable future?
In the foreseeable future, next weekend we won't be on because we're doing our Truth Foragers live, so we're getting to do that in town again to a real life audience, which is scary. And then into June, I believe we have someone called John that we're going to make join us for another Tony and Rudy episode, I think.
Sure thing. Yeah.
If he's available, lovely. Orbital Blues is coming back, which is good. We've been working on a game called The Villages for the last year or so, which is our own murder mystery rule set. So we'll continue on with that, and just keep on tracking with the Traveller on Fridays. Any weird, cool stuff with cool people on Saturdays, and just continue being us. We're not going to make it massive. We just want to be welcoming and have a fun time on a Friday and Saturday night.
You always definitely are. It has been quite a pleasure, Luke. Thank you for joining me and help me to restart and revamp this new podcast. And I want to run maybe weekly, if we have, if there are people interested. I know there's the next session, the next episode is planned. It's on the next Monday, this Monday, upcoming Monday, with RX Oliver. So make sure you check us there. And I will also love to say that we are entering a sales season, like the next 10 days or so, 9 days. So there will be appropriate announcements and updates about sales on our store, because it's Foundry VTT's anniversary, 5 years. So we're participating in the joy and the festivities. So make sure you stay tuned for all updates. Go give the boys from the Baltic Star a follow, and above all, stay legit and stay meta.